Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I will be brief. Mr. Secretary, this idea that because we would add a new game to the lottery, it may have an effect over current games or current sales, other than surveying the customers and asking them if they chose Keno over something else, it's pretty hard to quantify that, correct?
It is. We review it, but it is hard to make a precise estimate.
But what is easy to quantify is the growth of sales over the past growth. When games have been added on, and your projections of growth of sales, which I actually think is fairly reasonable, is at 6.1% growth. I think that was a very responsible estimate. What is your projected growth for the current fiscal year on sales without Keno, just the nature of increasing the business?
It's about $45 million.
Do you have a percentage?
So percentages of just a touch under 4%.
Okay, so to think that clearly in your estimates, if casino were added and we were to get to 6.1% growth in sales, we wouldn't be losing business or shifting business to a new game. We would be increasing revenue. And I think this idea that adding a new game just historically has never taken money away from the fund. In fact, it's increased revenue, and I would assume that your projections are accurate that Keno would do the same thing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Bradford has a very brief question he'd like to have answered briefly.
Thank you. On Keno, if it's being done under the lottery, how much of that will go to the issue of gaming abuse, if any? I mean, is there concerns that, I mean, you're talking about a lottery every 4 minutes, as I understood it from the Senate hearings. I mean, you've been here 2-3 hours. You could have lost $1,500 if you're at a terminal. Are we concerned at all about that issue?
Yeah, absolutely. Two things on that. One, there's a terminal-based game. As stated, it's similar to Match 6. And one thing that you'd find of interest, Representative, is that even though you have that much play, these retailers will actually be bringing in less in commissions than a typical convenience store retailer that exists today. So even though you've got the high frequency of play, you're still not going to have the numbers that come in and buy lottery tickets as they do today in an establishment. Our numbers for these new retailers are much lower than they are for a typical retailer. Now, when Sil came in, certainly under the other executive director, we spent a lot of time talking about the responsible approach. Now, this isn't just any business that's being run here. It needs to be done with the highest levels of integrity, highest levels of responsibility. It has to be run with good public policy in mind. And it's one of the strategic approaches, or one of the main things that Sil is going to be focused on as the executive director, not just with Keno, but overall. You want to respond? You want to address that?
I will, Representative. So as the Secretary noted, we take our social responsibility in this area. You choose Keno, but in the area of all of our products very seriously. So in every product that we have, we identify a number to call if there is a problem. That number is to an organization that we assist in funding. It's the Council for Compulsive Gambling of Pennsylvania. We participate with the Horse and Harness Association, the Gaming Control Board, in addressing these types of issues around the Commonwealth. And it's an area that we're looking at critically, what other states are doing, potentially other ways to increase our focus in this area. But again, not just because Keno's coming on, but across the board with all the products we sell.
Thank you, and thank you, Chairman. Let me just conclude by saying this, because I guess my concern is, it seems like we're going down the path, and in fairness, this is not unique to this governor or this Commonwealth, but for every social problem, or we create social problems with the gaming. But having said that, these continued expansions of gaming, rather than have an honest discussion about revenue. And we can say we've got, courage, but at some point, if we need revenue, extracting it through a regressive system where we take advantage of folks at these terminals, at some point, we've got to have an honest discussion. If we need revenue in this Commonwealth, we have to have courage not to take tax pledges and such, but to deal with real revenue issues.